it just seems like the evolution of CISO has really sped up, like in the last few years. It
Yeah,
feels like it's now like an evolution that is constantly changing now with, like you said, like the role having such a wide number of skill sets coming in. They've got so much things to deal with. It's almost like looking at the past, the present, the future all in one go to try and work out where like the strategy has to go. And I suppose like the final thing really to ask like is like when you're producing strategies or you're teaching CISOs how to come up with the strategies to work with, is it now getting to the point where like a 6 month strategy is like too long, like to plan out for? Is it, or we go more to like the presidential side of it, like the first 100 days, the next 100 days, and so on, and things like that? Is that how do you feel about that? I just see it just evolves so quickly
yeah,
that
yeah. And the funny thing is that typically, and I've it's what you're running into is, I mean, I've my co-authors, Matt Stamper and Bill Bonney and myself, we've actually written several books that are on Amazon, that around a lot of the stuff and trying to teach CISOs on how to do this. And you're right. I mean, it's you can't anybody that thinks they're going to put together a 2 or 3 or 4 year strategy is you're nuts.
yeah,
Because it changes so fast. It's not happening. You know, I've written about and I teach and I do it myself. I mean, I actually practice it and do it myself. Is you will take a specific type of framework. You will use it to go ahead and build you a baseline of controls for your organization. You will assess your organization. You will bring in the other business owners to look at your findings. You're going to go ahead and rack and stack, or what we rank, your gaps on which ones you're going to go ahead and work on. And then basically, and usually the gaps that you go ahead and you prioritize, they're going to be prioritized based on business needs, but they're also going to be prioritized based on the risk to the company as well. Um, and then what you do is you work on it. I will plan it out, in an 18-month cycle, but I only focus on 6 months at a time.
mhm,
I focus on 6 months at a time, and on quarterly, I report on where we're at, where we're tracking. I'm looking at my projects. I'm looking at the various reports from my direct reports and our teams, and you're right. You have a small window.
yeah,
And so I've got a small window that my team's focused on and know what projects, what initiatives we're doing. And that is not in a box. It's not behind, it's wide open. All of my departments know what we're working on. I brief it. I even will, get people from other departments to help us test, new
mhm,
technologies, to help us, test different things, because I want to be able to, have people in the various departments, you know, um, so I just don't want to have some people in IT to help me test, hey, this new EDR solution. Instead, I would rather have people across 4 or 5 departments, give me about 50 people to go ahead and test it, because
yeah,
they're going to be doing different things during the day. They're going to be, doing different SaaS apps, and I want to have a wider range of people to be able to test things across. And so, as a CISO, my team knows the projects that we're doing. I brief them, my the other business units, the board, my leadership team that I work with knows what we're working on. They know what our goal is. They know, if we're following in this framework, here's our specific goal. I mean, here's our specific score, CSF score,
yeah,
and here we are ranked for all business, and here we are ranked for all financial services. They know where we're at. They know what gaps we have and what I'm working on. And these, and the thing about this is I'm not doing anything unique. A lot of CISOs are using something, whether it's ISO 27001 or whether it's SOC 2, they're using some type of framework to be able to do this. And this is just the basics. This is just a foundation that you use to have your team focused. You're looking at specific technologies or changes to your stack that you need to do. And then on top of that, you've got policies that need to be updated. You've got daily threats and stuff that you're mitigating and that you're reviewing. You've got partnerships that you're working with legal and compliance and risk. And you're looking at, e-discovery requests that are coming in. You're looking at new, like where I'm at currently, we may be looking at new investments. So I'm doing due diligence and assisting the various teams.
yeah,
Um, and so the job, you've got the core piece that you're doing, the 6 month window that you're doing, And that's just your foundation. That's just table stakes, keeps the team focused. People know where we're going. They know what we need to achieve, what gaps we're working on. And then you have the extra things that get piled on. You have the audits from regulatory agencies that you have to deal with. You have, the M&A requests that you deal with. You have procurement that steps in and they want you to review contracts because there are security sections now in contracts that you have to, review and be able to state on. Those are just all the extra things that, CISOs now have as part of their job. So it isn't really, you don't sit in your department. You may be running your department, but you're interacting with at least another dozen, departments, and there'll be, and you're tracking the relationships you have with them and helping them with their stuff. And there's times where you may even have some of your team members embedded, I may have cross-functional teams where I have an AppSec team, but my AppSec team is actually over in engineering. It's over in dev, and they work over there. And my direct report that runs that team just reports back to me on a weekly basis. We do our one-on-ones, and then periodically I may pull the team out for training with the full security team, but I keep them embedded over there because it's better for them to be there with their sprints, with their deliverables. And periodically I'll sit in on Scrum meetings just so I understand what's going on, and I make sure that I don't impact them, and that team has everything it needs. These are things that, CISOs are doing across the industry right now, is that, you'll run things within your team. You'll run things that are distributed, assisting with other teams. I know CISOs right now that aren't just doing CISO work. They're now running the IT team,
Right.
And two different stacks of technology. The IT stack, you're delivering services on a daily basis. The security stack, you're monitoring that one, but then you're also looking across the whole enterprise and you're projecting, further out. So it's very different focus, but they're both intertwined. And the teams work very close together. And you're starting to see companies now that will have a CISO also take on the IT role or take on parts of the IT role. I'm seeing when I was at Webroot, one of my previous roles, I did security and I did governance and risk. And so I had those as part of, because I'm also a certified auditor, and I worked extensively with legal when we were getting GDPR certified. And our attorney that was in London was our DPO, and I just worked extensively with her, answering questionnaires and doing stuff. But that's common. It's common for CISOs to work extensively dealing with risk, dealing with privacy, and those teams. And sometimes those teams are underneath the CISO, and sometimes the teams just work, hand in hand, with the CISO's team. We're no longer technology. The larger you get, the more integrated you get internationally. It's just, the breadth of the job changes. And that's why I'm saying it goes from technology to strategic. Because of that, you need that breadth of view, that breadth of experience of working with these various departments, these various business units. And some of them are international, where you've got to also now factor in, like I said, the social skills piece. You also now have to factor in culture. You also have to factor in, okay, this is the way they do it in the EDU, vice the way they do it in Japan, vice the way they do it in the UAE, vice the way they do it in California.
Of course.
It's quite interesting.
Yeah. No kidding. No kidding. Well, I mean, I could talk to you all day about this, Gary. I just find what you're saying is, I think at one point, in one way, it almost seems like terrifying. It's like a job that, oh my God, would anybody want to do it? But then the excitement of it and the chance that it's constantly changing is just fantastic. And you can see why people get enthused about it and why they want to move it and continue this evolution of it and move with it as well. But no, I thank you so much for your time and and everything that you've told us about. Like I said, it's fascinating, and we could spend days, I would have thought, days and days on this discussing it. But no, thank you so much for taking the time out to talk to us. It's been, like I said, it's been absolutely a privilege to talk to you, and look forward to talking to you again soon.
Oh, thank you very much. And I mean, one last thing I would say for those that are in the security field, for those that are looking at becoming a CISO, or those that are a CISO now, remember, you've got a community. You don't have to do it all on yourself. You don't have to deal with that stress and deal with everything. You've got a community, you've got other peers that you can reach out to. Do that. You're never going to know everything. That's the reason why, as a team, as a community, we work together. Be willing to go ahead and work, share, mentor, help each other. And that's the way we get through it. And that's the way you actually excel in this role, is just understanding it's just not you, it's the team and the community you have around you. So thank you very much for having me.
No, thanks very much.